Ladies and gentlemen, as we journey through life, we accumulate not just memories, but also wisdom. With time, we come to understand that not everything needs to be shared, even with those closest to us. Some aspects of our lives are best kept private, not out of secrecy or deception, but as a way to preserve harmony, maintain self-respect, and protect our emotional well-being. Today on Golden Years Balance, we'll explore 5 key things that should remain private, particularly as we grow older. These are lessons rooted in decades of experience in psychology, elder care, and real-life interactions with individuals who have learned, sometimes the hard way, that discretion can be one of the greatest gifts we give ourselves. Why is this important? Because as we age, our relationships take on new dimensions. We want to avoid unnecessary conflicts, safeguard our personal dignity, and create an atmosphere of peace with our loved ones. Knowing what to share and what to hold back is an art, one that can enhance both our personal happiness and the depth of our relationships. So let's take a thoughtful look at why keeping certain things private is not a sign of isolation, but a practice of wisdom, self-care, and emotional maturity. Number 1, your deepest regrets, the weight of the past. Regret is an inevitable part of the human experience. As we age, we reflect on our past decisions, questioning what could have been if we had made different choices. Some regrets are minor, like missing a concert or failing to take a vacation. Others are more profound: relationships lost, career paths abandoned, or missed opportunities that could have altered the course of our lives. For many older adults, these regrets center around family, personal aspirations, or roads not taken. There's often a deep longing to express these emotions, particularly to loved ones. However, should we share our deepest regrets openly, or can doing so have unintended consequences? While it may seem like an act of honesty and openness to share regrets with family members, particularly children, it's important to consider the psychological effects such discussions may have on them. 1. The burden on loved ones. When parents frequently express regret, children may internalize these feelings, seeing themselves as a reminder of their parents' unfulfilled dreams. For example, if a parent regrets not pursuing a different career or traveling the world, their children may feel responsible for the life their parent missed out on. This can create a sense of guilt or unworthiness, even if unintended. Number 2, the fear of repeating mistakes. Children who hear about their parents' regrets may start to fear making similar mistakes. Instead of feeling encouraged to forge their own paths, they might hesitate, second-guessing every decision for fear of future regret. A son hearing his father say, "I wish I'd followed my passion instead of settling for stability," may develop anxiety about his own career choices, wondering if he too will wake up one day feeling unfulfilled. 3. A heavy emotional atmosphere. A home where regret is frequently discussed can become emotionally heavy. Conversations that revolve around what could have been create a lingering sense of loss, making family interactions feel less uplifting and more melancholic. This atmosphere can drain loved ones, leaving them unsure of how to respond or help. Mary, a 70-year-old retired teacher, spent decades shaping young minds. However, she often told her children that she wished she had pursued her dream of becoming a writer. She thought she was imparting a valuable life lesson: follow your passion. However, her words had unintended consequences. Her son, an engineer, began questioning whether he had made the right career choice. Was he just settling, as his mother had? Meanwhile, her daughter, a journalist, started feeling guilty, wondering if she had taken the career path her mother had dreamed of, leaving her mother to live with disappointment. Mary had no ill intentions. She only wanted to share wisdom. Yet instead of inspiring, her words weighed heavily on her children. Instead of dwelling on regret, consider a shift in perspective. Regrets are valuable because they provide insight and growth. The key is in how we communicate them. 1. Turn regret into a lesson. Rather than saying, "I wish I had done this instead," reframe the thought to, "I learned that it's important to follow your heart." Instead of focusing on the loss, emphasize the wisdom gained. This allows family members to take away valuable lessons without feeling burdened. 2. Highlight the positive outcomes. Every choice we make leads to something meaningful, even if it wasn't what we originally envisioned. Perhaps choosing a stable career provided security for your family, Maybe staying in one place led to lifelong friendships. Acknowledge these positives instead of only the missed opportunities. 3. Encourage without projection. If you want to inspire your children or grandchildren to make the most of their lives, do so through encouragement rather than regret. Saying, "I love that you are brave enough to take risks," is more empowering than, "I wish I had taken more risks." The former celebrates them, while the latter projects personal disappointment. 4. Use regret as motivation for the present. Just because time has passed doesn't mean it's too late to pursue passions. If you regret not writing, start now. If you regret not traveling, take a trip. Show rather than tell that it's never too late to create meaningful experiences. The ancient Stoics had a powerful perspective on regret. They believed that dwelling on the past was futile because the past cannot be changed. Instead, they emphasized focusing on what is within our control, our present actions and mindset. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others, unless it is with a view to some mutual benefit. It is no part of a man's nature to judge his own future misfortunes and to grieve over them before they happen." Applying this wisdom, we can choose to use regret as a tool for growth rather than sorrow. Instead of lamenting what we cannot change, we can use our reflections to better inform our current and future choices. Practical steps to handle regret in a healthy way. Write it down. Journaling about regrets can help process emotions without burdening loved ones. Practice gratitude. Shift focus to what was gained rather than lost. Seek closure. If possible, take steps to address lingering regrets. Reconnect with an old friend, start a hobby, or make amends where necessary. Engage in meaningful conversations. Share stories of resilience rather than only loss. Discussing how you overcame past difficulties can be more inspiring than simply reminiscing about missed opportunities. Live in the present. What matters most is not what was, but what is. Making the most of today prevents future regrets. Regret is a natural human emotion, but how we express and handle it shapes its impact. By shifting from sorrow to wisdom, from dwelling on the past to embracing the present, we create a more positive, empowering legacy for ourselves and our loved ones. Instead of telling our families about the roads we didn't take, we can show them how to walk their own paths with confidence, courage, and gratitude. In doing so, we not only free ourselves from the weight of the past, but also guide the next generation toward a life well lived. Number 2, your financial situation. The silent disruptor. Money has a way of altering relationships, often in ways we don't expect. Whether you are struggling financially or sitting on a comfortable nest egg, revealing too much can cause unnecessary stress or even resentment. Financial discussions, if not handled carefully, can create rifts between family members, leading to strained relationships, entitlement issues, or even long-term damage. Money is more than just numbers. It carries deep emotional and psychological weight. How we discuss it with our loved ones can shape relationships in profound ways. While transparency is generally a virtue, when it comes to finances, there are nuances to consider. 1. Financial struggles and the burden of responsibility. Many parents hesitate to share financial struggles with their children, fearing they may worry or feel obligated to help. However, some parents, often out of desperation or loneliness, confide in their children, not realizing the emotional toll this can take. Emotional guilt. When parents share financial difficulties, children, especially those who are financially independent, may feel a strong moral obligation to help, even when they cannot afford to do so. This can lead to stress, guilt, and even resentment. Personal sacrifice. Some children may start cutting back on their own expenses, dipping into savings, or even taking on debt to support their parents. Over time, this dynamic can cause emotional strain and change the relationship from one of love and support to one of obligation and resentment. Changing power dynamics. In some cases, a child who provides financial support may feel they have the right to make decisions for their parents, creating a shift in authority that may lead to conflict. 2. The risks of revealing wealth. On the flip side, sharing too much about financial success can also lead to unintended consequences. While it may feel good to be transparent, wealth disclosure can trigger entitlement, jealousy, or family disputes. Entitlement. Among family members, If children or extended family know that a parent is financially comfortable, they may develop an expectation that they will be provided for, even when it is not necessary. Inheritance disputes. Wealth discussions often lead to conflicts over inheritance. Some family members may feel they deserve more, while others may start treating relationships transactionally, focusing on what they can gain rather than maintaining genuine connections. Loss of genuine relationships. When wealth is openly discussed, interactions with friends and family may become more about financial expectations than genuine connection. Family members may begin to treat a wealthy relative differently, leading to mistrust or manipulation. 3. Money conversations. Shifting relationships. When money becomes a central topic in relationships, it can shift interactions from emotional to transactional. Parents who pay for everything. Some parents believe that by providing financial support, they are strengthening family ties. However, this can sometimes result in dependency, where children struggle to manage their own finances. Siblings who compare wealth. If one sibling is financially better off than another, it may lead to feelings of competition, jealousy, or inferiority, weakening the sibling bond. Friendships at risk. When financial situations become too prominent in discussions, friendships can suffer. A friend struggling financially may feel uncomfortable around a wealthier friend, leading to distance in the relationship. John, a widower in his late 60s, had always been independent. However, after a series of unexpected medical bills and rising living costs, he found himself in a financial bind. Wanting to be honest with his daughter, he shared his financial worries with her. Out of love and concern, his daughter immediately started paying some of his bills, cutting back on her own expenses to help. While John appreciated her support, he began to feel guilty. Meanwhile, his daughter, though willing to help, started feeling overwhelmed. Over time, the interactions between them became centered around financial transactions rather than their emotional bond. John eventually noticed that their conversations had changed. They no longer talked about hobbies, memories, or future plans. Instead, every discussion revolved around bills, expenses, and financial worries. Their relationship had shifted from a loving father-daughter bond to one of obligation and burden. This situation is not uncommon. Financial dependence, whether from parent to child or child to parent, can create an emotional weight that is difficult to bear. While it is important to have financial discussions, the key is to approach them with balance, foresight, and emotional intelligence. Here are some best practices. 1. Focus on financial planning, not burdening loved ones. Instead of revealing every financial struggle or success, focus on long-term planning. Seek advice from a financial planner rather than relying on family members for financial guidance. If discussing money with children, frame it as financial literacy education rather than a plea for help. 2. Encourage independence rather than dependency. For parents who are financially comfortable, avoid over-supporting adult children in ways that prevent them from developing their own financial responsibility. For adult children supporting parents, establish clear boundaries to prevent emotional and financial burnout. Help family members develop their own financial literacy instead of becoming their financial safety net. 3. Approach inheritance discussions with care. If you plan to discuss inheritance, ensure the conversation is fair and does not create division among family members. Use legal tools such as wills and trusts to clearly outline financial intentions. Have these conversations in the presence of a financial advisor or mediator to ensure fairness and clarity. 4. Maintain emotional connections beyond finances. Avoid letting financial discussions dominate conversations. Foster family connections through shared experiences rather than financial exchanges. Be aware of how money influences relationships and strive to keep financial matters from becoming the defining element. Money is an undeniable force in relationships. However, how we handle financial conversations can determine whether it strengthens or weakens our bonds with loved ones. By finding the right balance, being open yet strategic, supportive yet encouraging independence, we can prevent financial discussions from becoming relationship disruptors. Ultimately, money should serve as a tool for security and well-being, not as a source of tension. Thoughtful communication and careful financial planning can ensure that relationships remain rooted in love, trust and mutual respect rather than transactional expectations. Number 3, your true feelings about family members. The power of words. Family dynamics are intricate, shaped by personal experiences, generational influences, and individual personalities. Every family member plays a unique role, and with these roles come challenges, misunderstandings, and emotional complexities. While it may be tempting to vent frustrations about certain relatives, it is essential to recognize the power of words. Once spoken, words cannot be taken back, and their impact can be long-lasting. Expressing negative opinions about family members, especially in moments of anger or frustration, can create deep divides and lasting emotional scars. Words hold immense power in shaping relationships and defining the emotional climate within a family. The way we communicate our feelings about relatives can significantly influence family dynamics, either fostering unity or breeding discord. Understanding the consequences of our words can help us make more mindful choices in how we express our emotions. 1. Harsh words create permanent scars. When emotions run high, it's easy to blurt out words that may seem justified in the heat of the moment, but are deeply hurtful. Words of criticism, judgment, or resentment can leave lasting emotional wounds, making it difficult to mend relationships. Unlike physical wounds that heal with time, emotional wounds caused by words can linger indefinitely, affecting how family members interact with one another. For example, a sibling who constantly hears that they are lazy or irresponsible may internalize these labels, leading to a lack of self-confidence or resentment towards the family. Similarly, an elderly parent who is frequently criticized for their declining abilities may feel unwanted or burdensome, exacerbating feelings of loneliness. 2. Negative opinions influence perceptions. The way we speak about our family members shapes how others perceive them. If a mother constantly complains about her daughter-in-law, other relatives may develop a biased view of her, even if they have never had a negative experience with her themselves. This creates unnecessary tension and divisions within the family. Negative opinions, when shared repeatedly, can form an environment of distrust and hostility. Children growing up in a household where relatives frequently speak ill of one another may learn to adopt the same behavior, perpetuating cycles of negativity in future generations. 3. Eroding trust and strained relationships. Trust is a fundamental pillar of any healthy relationship, and words play a crucial role in either strengthening or breaking that trust. When a family member learns that they have been spoken about negatively behind their back, it can lead to feelings of betrayal and hurt. Over time, this erosion of trust results in strained relationships, making family gatherings uncomfortable and emotionally charged. Imagine a scenario where a brother overhears his sister complaining about him to their parents. Even if her concerns are valid, hearing them expressed in a negative or dismissive manner can create emotional distance. He may become more guarded, reluctant to share his struggles, or avoid spending time with his family altogether. A real-life example illustrates the damage that words can inflict within a family. A grandmother who frequently criticized her son-in-law believed she was merely being honest about his shortcomings. She often voiced her concerns to her daughter, complaining about his lack of ambition, his parenting style, and his general demeanor. While she did not intend to create division, her words placed her daughter in a difficult position. Over time, the daughter found herself caught between the loyalty she felt towards her husband and the respect she had for her mother. Family gatherings became tense, as the son-in-law became increasingly aware of the grandmother's disapproval. Eventually, the rift grew so wide that visits became infrequent, and the once close family ties weakened. This situation could have been avoided had the grandmother chosen her words more carefully and approached her concerns with empathy and tact. Rather than openly criticizing her son-in-law, she could have sought to understand his perspective, allowing for a more constructive and harmonious relationship. Recognizing the power of words does not mean suppressing emotions or avoiding difficult conversations. Instead, it encourages a mindful approach to communication that prioritizes understanding, respect, and the well-being of the family unit. 1. Focus on constructive conversations. When addressing concerns about a family member, it is crucial to frame the conversation in a way that encourages dialogue rather than defensiveness. Instead of making accusatory statements such as, "You never help around the house," rephrase the concern into a request. "I would really appreciate it if we could share household responsibilities more evenly." Constructive conversations allow individuals to express their feelings without alienating or hurting others. This approach fosters collaboration and problem solving rather than resentment and conflict. Number 2, choose the right time and place. Difficult conversations should be held in a private and calm setting rather than in the heat of an argument or in front of other family members. Addressing concerns in a respectful manner at an appropriate time increases the likelihood of a positive outcome. Practice empathy and active listening. Before expressing frustrations about a family member, take a moment to consider their perspective. What challenges might they be facing? What are the possible reasons behind their actions? Practicing empathy allows us to respond with compassion rather than judgment. Additionally, active listening is a crucial skill in fostering healthy family relationships. When a relative shares their thoughts or concerns, listen with an open mind rather than immediately forming a rebuttal. Acknowledging their feelings can go a long way in building mutual understanding and respect. 4. Set boundaries and encourage positive dialogue. If a family member frequently engages in negative talk about others, it is important to set boundaries. Politely but firmly express that you prefer to focus on positive and solution-oriented discussions rather than dwelling on complaints. Encouraging an atmosphere of respect and understanding can gradually shift the overall tone of family conversations. For example, if a cousin frequently gossips about another relative, gently redirect the conversation. "I'd rather focus on the good things happening in our family. Let's talk about something positive." This approach discourages negativity while reinforcing a culture of kindness. 5. Lead by example. One of the most effective ways to cultivate a supportive and harmonious family environment is to lead by example. Demonstrating patience, kindness, and respectful communication encourages others to do the same. By consistently choosing words that uplift rather than tear down, family members can collectively create a more nurturing and emotionally safe space. The power of words within a family cannot be overstated. How we speak about our relatives influences perceptions, shapes relationships, and can either strengthen or weaken family bonds. By practicing mindful communication, fostering empathy, and prioritizing constructive dialogue, we can create an environment where love, trust, and understanding thrive. Family relationships, like all meaningful connections, require effort and intentionality. While frustrations and disagreements are inevitable, how we choose to express our feelings determines whether those moments become opportunities for growth or sources of lasting division. By choosing our words wisely, we can preserve the harmony and unity that make family a source of strength and support. Number 4, your health worries, the balance between transparency and burden. As we age, our health inevitably becomes a more central aspect of our daily lives. Aches and pains that once seemed minor may now linger, chronic conditions require ongoing management, and visits to the doctor become more frequent. Naturally, we want to keep our loved ones informed about our well-being. However, striking a balance between transparency and burden can be challenging. It is crucial to share important health updates, but constantly discussing every discomfort can unintentionally shift the dynamics of relationships. While some level of openness fosters emotional connection and support, excessive focus on health concerns may lead to unintended consequences. The risks of oversharing health worries. 1. Altered perceptions, from independent to fragile. When health concerns become the focal point of conversations, family members may start seeing you as frail rather than independent. This shift can be subtle but impactful. Loved ones might begin to limit invitations to outings, fearing that certain activities may be too strenuous. They may also start offering unsolicited advice or assistance, which, while well-intended, can feel patronizing. Independence is deeply valued, and maintaining it as long as possible is essential for emotional well-being. If discussions about health dominate interactions, Others may start viewing you primarily through the lens of your ailments, rather than as a whole person with interests, experiences, and wisdom to share. 2. The risk of avoidance behavior. Frequent conversations about health issues can make interactions feel heavy. Family members and friends may begin to withdraw, not because they don't care, but because they feel helpless or emotionally drained. Consider the case of David, an 80-year-old man with arthritis. Initially, his children showed great concern when he talked about his pain. However, over time, his constant focus on discomfort made their visits emotionally taxing. Instead of enjoying meals together, conversations revolved around medical appointments, medication side effects, and physical limitations. Eventually, his children started shortening their visits, and his social interactions diminished. 3. Increased stress for loved ones. Hearing frequent reports of pain and health struggles can create anxiety for family members. They may worry excessively about your well-being, feeling a sense of responsibility to find solutions that may not exist. This stress can become overwhelming, particularly if they have their own work, family, and personal obligations to manage. Additionally, constant concern over a loved one's health can create a sense of guilt. If a family member is unable to visit as often as they would like, they may feel they are neglecting their duties. This can lead to strained relationships and emotional distance, rather than the closeness we hope to maintain. Being open about health is important, but it should not overshadow other aspects of life. Striking a balance involves thoughtful communication and an awareness of how our words affect those around us. 1. Prioritize meaningful conversations. Instead of making every discussion about medical conditions, focus on sharing positive experiences, memories, and thoughts. Talking about books, hobbies, personal achievements, or childhood stories can create a much more uplifting and engaging atmosphere. This approach helps keep relationships strong and ensures that time spent together is fulfilling rather than stressful. For example, rather than saying, "My back pain kept me up all night again," you might say, "I had a rough night, but I'm glad we're spending time together today." This shift acknowledges the challenge without making it the focal point of the conversation. 2. Choose the right moments for health discussions. Of course, significant health concerns should not be hidden from family members. However, instead of bringing up every ache and pain in casual conversations, consider designating specific times for health discussions. For example, updating family members about health during scheduled calls or visits can prevent health talk from overwhelming every interaction. When discussing health, it's also helpful to focus on solutions and action plans rather than just symptoms. Saying, "I'm experiencing more joint pain, so I'm trying some new stretches and exercises," is more constructive than simply stating, "My pain keeps getting worse." This approach reassures loved ones that you are actively managing your health rather than feeling helpless. 3. Acknowledge and appreciate support. When family members express concern, acknowledge their support and let them know it is appreciated. A simple "thank you for listening, I really appreciate your care" can go a long way in fostering a positive relationship. Showing gratitude shifts the tone of interactions from one of worry to one of mutual care and support. Additionally, allowing family members to help in small, meaningful ways, such as running errands, accompanying you to appointments, or simply spending quality time together, can provide a sense of involvement without making them feel overwhelmed by constant concern. 4. Engage in activities that promote positivity. Engaging in enjoyable activities with loved ones can naturally shift the focus away from health concerns. Whether it's playing a game, watching a favourite movie, gardening, or taking a short walk, these activities create opportunities for bonding without the stress of medical discussions. If mobility or energy levels are a concern, adapting activities can still allow for meaningful engagement. For example, if long walks are difficult, a short stroll in the garden while chatting about family history can be just as enriching. Aging comes with health challenges, and it's natural to want to share those experiences with loved ones. However, ensuring that these discussions do not dominate interactions is key to maintaining healthy and fulfilling relationships. By prioritizing meaningful conversations, Choosing the right moments for health discussions, expressing gratitude for support, and engaging in positive activities, you can foster stronger connections without overwhelming those around you. Ultimately, your relationships should be defined by love, shared experiences, and mutual respect, not just by health concerns. Striking the right balance allows for both openness and joy, ensuring that time spent with loved ones is as enriching as possible. Number 5, your deepest fears. The unintended consequences of sharing too much. Aging brings with it a host of uncertainties: loneliness, financial concerns, health issues, and existential questions. It's only natural to seek comfort in sharing these fears with loved ones. After all, communication is a fundamental part of human connection. However, while expressing emotions can provide relief, excessive sharing of fears can have unintended consequences that may burden those around you. The hidden costs of oversharing. 1. Emotional burden on loved ones. One of the greatest unintended consequences of sharing too much is the emotional weight it places on family and friends. Children, in particular, may feel guilty or responsible for alleviating your fears. Even if they want to help, they may not always have the resources or ability to do so. This can lead to stress, frustration, or even resentment. Example: imagine a mother who frequently tells her adult children she fears running out of money. Even if her finances are stable, her children may feel obligated to provide additional financial support, sacrificing their own needs or peace of mind. 2. Perceived dependence and helplessness. If you frequently discuss your fears, especially without focusing on solutions, your loved ones may begin to see you as incapable of handling challenges. This can shift the dynamic of your relationships, making others feel they need to manage your life instead of seeing you as an independent individual. Example: a father who constantly expresses fear of declining health may find that his children start making decisions for him, assuming he is no longer capable of handling them on his own. This loss of autonomy can be disempowering and lead to frustration for both parties. 3. The contagion of fear. Fear is contagious. The way you talk about your worries influences how others feel about their own future. When aging is constantly framed in a fearful or negative light, it can make younger family members dread growing older themselves, associating aging with inevitable suffering rather than a stage of life filled with growth and purpose. Example: a grandmother who frequently laments how lonely old age is may unintentionally instill fear in her grandchildren about their own future, making them view aging as something to be dreaded rather than embraced. 4. Strained relationships. When fear dominates conversations, it can change the nature of relationships. Instead of being sources of joy and connection, interactions become heavy, draining, or even avoidant. Some people may start distancing themselves to protect their own emotional well-being. Example: friends and family members may begin to limit visits or phone calls if they anticipate every conversation will be centered around worries and fears. While this is often not intentional, it can result in feelings of isolation and reinforce negative emotions. Sarah, 75, had always been a loving mother and grandmother. However, as she grew older, she became increasingly vocal about her fear of dying alone. She often reminded her children how much she dreaded spending her final years in solitude. Though her intention was to express her vulnerability, her constant expressions of fear started affecting her children in unexpected ways. Her eldest son, Mike, who lived in another state, began feeling guilty every time he couldn't visit. He started questioning his life choices, wondering if he was selfish for pursuing his career far from home. Meanwhile, her daughter, Lisa, who lived nearby, felt overwhelmed by the unspoken expectation to always be there. She struggled to balance her responsibilities as a mother, wife, and daughter, feeling stretched thin but too guilty to express her frustration. Over time, Sarah noticed a change in her family's behavior. Calls became less frequent, and visits felt obligatory rather than joyful. She started to feel isolated. Ironically, the very fear she was trying to avoid became a reality. It was only after a heartfelt conversation with Lisa that Sarah realized the impact her words had. She began shifting her focus from dwelling on fears to fostering meaningful moments with her family. Instead of lamenting her loneliness, she sought ways to stay engaged in her community, making new friends and pursuing activities that brought her joy. As a result, her relationships with her children improved and their interactions became more fulfilling. How to handle fears constructively. 1. Acknowledge your fears without letting them define you. Fear is a natural emotion, but it does not have to control your life. Instead of allowing worries to dictate your conversations, acknowledge them internally and reflect on ways to manage them effectively. Practice self-awareness. When a fear arises, ask yourself, is this something I can control? What can I do to address it? Limit the frequency of sharing. Expressing fears occasionally is normal, but if it becomes a daily habit, it may be time to reassess. 2. Reframe conversations in a solution-oriented manner. Instead of simply stating your fears, focus on discussing solutions and seeking constructive advice. Instead of, I'm afraid I'll run out of money. Try, I'm thinking about ways to make my savings last longer. Do you have any tips? Instead of, I feel so lonely all the time. Try, I'd love to find new ways to stay connected with others. What activities do you think I should try? This shift not only makes the conversation more positive, but also encourages engagement rather than avoidance. 3. Cultivate resilience and inner strength. Developing a mindset of resilience can help you navigate fears more effectively. Some ways to do this include engaging in mindfulness or meditation to calm anxious thoughts, practicing gratitude by focusing on the positives in your life, building a strong support system by forming meaningful connections with friends, community members, or support groups. 4. Seek professional guidance when needed. Sometimes fears become overwhelming and external support is necessary. Therapists, support groups, or counselors can provide valuable coping strategies and perspectives that family members may not be equipped to offer. 5. Strengthen bonds through shared positive experiences. Instead of allowing fear to dominate interactions, focus on creating joyful moments with loved ones. Whether it's sharing a hobby, reminiscing about happy memories, or planning future activities, fostering positive connections can help alleviate fears naturally. Plan family game nights or outings, engage in volunteer work together, learn new skills or hobbies that bring excitement and purpose. Aging brings challenges, but it also offers opportunities for growth, wisdom, and deepened relationships. While sharing fears is a natural part of human connection, it's important to balance openness with constructive communication. By reframing concerns into opportunities for problem solving, cultivating resilience, and fostering positive interactions, you can navigate life's uncertainties without burdening your loved ones. Ultimately, the goal is not to suppress fear, but to transform it into a source of strength, one that enhances both your well-being and the relationships you cherish. Keeping certain aspects of your life private is not about deception, it's about discernment. In a world where oversharing has become the norm, choosing what to share and with whom is a sign of emotional intelligence and self-respect. When you selectively share, you create a sense of trust and depth in your relationships, rather than diluting their significance with unnecessary details. Maintaining a healthy level of privacy also allows you to protect your peace of mind. Not everyone needs access to your personal struggles, achievements, or inner thoughts. By being mindful of what you disclose, you empower yourself to control your narrative and avoid unnecessary judgment or misunderstanding. Moreover, selective sharing fosters stronger, more meaningful conversations, as it encourages deep, intentional dialogue rather than surface-level exchanges. If this message resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you approach selective sharing in your own life? Leave a comment below and let's continue the conversation. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Golden Years Balance, and turn on notifications for more insights on wisdom, resilience, and aging with grace. Thank you for being part of our community, where we embrace life's journey with intention and understanding. See you in the next video.